Under ATF Director Kash Patel, the Biden-era zero-tolerance policy was repealed. Now, this is good news for the safety of firearm retailers and the privacy of gun owners, and I'll tell you why. The zero-tolerance policy was put in place during the Biden administration, and GOA and GOF had two major lawsuits against this policy. Now, let's not forget, the ATF can't make laws. Only Congress can do that. But with Joe Biden in office, the ATF was able to create policy that negatively affected American gun shops and gun owners. What the zero-tolerance policy did was punish gun shops for the slightest of errors in paperwork, filings, and other administrative procedures. Zero tolerance meant there would be no leeway for mistakes, no second chances. Now, you have to understand, it's easy to make clerical errors, paperwork errors, and small, insignificant mistakes when you're dealing with the burdensome complexities of government and its requirements. For instance, a gun shop was punished for putting USA in the county box rather than the country box on a form. According to Joe Biden's zero-tolerance policy, this type of error was unacceptable and punishable. Now, with respect to forms, applications, and other types of government requirements, mistakes can be made. During the Biden administration, the ATF revoked hundreds of FFL licenses from gun shops, essentially putting them out of business and killing the livelihoods of the families who own them and the good folks who work there. That seems to be exactly what they wanted to do. But not only that, the zero-tolerance policy was created with much more nefarious intentions. It also served as a tool to create a gun registry. Now, when a federal firearms licensee, FFL, or a gun shop goes out of business in the U.S., they're legally required to send specific records to the ATF. So here's what they must turn over. All firearm transaction records. Now, these are the ATF Form 4473 documents for every sale or transfer. These forms include personal information on the buyer, the firearm, and the background check result. Acquisition and disposition, A&D records. This is the bound book or electronic equivalent that records every firearm received and disposed of by the licensee. Multiple sales records, also known as ATF Form 3310.4. This form indicates if a customer purchased multiple handguns within 5 business days. Now, those sales must be reported and documented. ATF Form 3310.11, which is the Federal Firearms Licensee Theft Loss Report. Records of importation, also known as ATF Form 6 and 6A, records of NFA firearms if they were licensed as a Class 3 dealer, and law enforcement certification letters. Now, where do these forms go? Well, straight to the ATF's Out of Business Records Center. The zero-tolerance policy was nothing more than a tool to put gun shops out of business, limiting access to firearms and to create a gun registry. Now, we know why the gun grabbers wanted a gun registry so badly, because before guns can be confiscated, you must first know where they're located, and the documents that were being held by the ATF led them right to your front door. Kash Patel, while heading up the ATF, shut this down. This is a huge win for gun owners and gun shops across the country. So why do you think Joe Biden and the ATF were so hell-bent on putting gun shops out of business? Was it for the purpose of limiting the availability of firearms for American citizens? Or was it for the purpose of tracking and tracing every firearm in America for the purpose of future confiscation? Well, the answer is probably both. Gun Owners of America has long sounded the alarm on the weaponization of the ATF under the Biden administration, where bureaucratic overreach was used to harass law-abiding gun dealers and crush small businesses. Zero-tolerance policy wasn't about safety. It was about control. GOA and Gun Owners Foundation responded with force, filing 2 major federal lawsuits, Kilton Tactical versus ATF and Morehouse Enterprises LLC versus ATF. Now, the recent repeal is a direct result of sustained legal and grassroots pressure, and a clear sign that this administration is serious about restoring constitutional order. Senior Vice President of Gun Owners of America, Eric Pratt, issued the following statement. For years, the zero-tolerance policy has been a tool of political retribution, targeting gun stores and Americans who were simply trying to exercise their rights. We applaud President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director Kash Patel for listening to gun owners and taking action to repeal this abusive policy. This is what pro-gun leadership looks like. We're on a trajectory now where the Second Amendment is winning. We're pushing forward, and President Trump has put the right people in office to defend, support, and strengthen our gun rights in America. Now, we're not going to sit back and get lazy because a lot of the money that was being used to lobby Washington, D.C. is now being redirected to the states for the purpose of gun control. So we're seeing a lot of new unconstitutional gun laws in states like New York, Colorado, and several others. Now, the push now will be to focus on state-level gun laws because we know the Democrats and the anti-gunners are going to do everything they can, kicking and screaming, to take away our Second Amendment rights, especially since Donald Trump is in office, and they know that they're losing the fight against real Americans. The political left is not concerned with crimes in America. What really concerns them is their political opposition, their hunger for power, and the ability to turn America into a socialist country is far more important to them than the safety of American citizens. Why else would they open the border and let criminals out of jail on early release and bail reform policies? The real threat to the Democrats' power grab is you, the American patriot. Now, although door-to-door confiscations would likely never happen in America, a slow, articulate firearm removal through legislation, restrictions, and unelected government agencies is very possible. It appears President Trump and Attorney General Bondi are putting an end to the left's systematic gun grab. It's a good day for the Second Amendment. Thanks for watching Bullet Points. I'm Dan Wass for Gun Owners Foundation. You can find more Second Amendment content and updates at gunowners.com.